Hello everybody, today we're going to be covering a topic that can be a little controversial, and that is employee productivity monitoring. So of course with COVID in 2020 and now even into 2021, more businesses than ever have gone remote. That does lead some business owners to, of course, feel like maybe their employees are not working as hard remote, which in some cases may be the case, and in other cases it may not. But they would like a way to see, how do I know for sure? And there are quite a few ways to do this that isn't exact, they don't have to be micromanaging. There are some ways to really micromanage, and then there's ways just to be like, hey, I just need to check on the status of things. So we're going to go over a few of those items today. So let's start with the top one, and that is Microsoft 365. So most likely your office is currently using Microsoft 365. There's really good reporting in there, such as if you're using Teams, there's a nice Teams reporting, reports on how many emails sent, who they're being sent to, just activity monitoring. So there's nothing really that granular in there, at least from what I've experienced, but it's a nice overview of activity happening within your organization. So that's number one. And number two on the list is VoIP phone systems. So if you have a VoIP phone system, which you probably do nowadays, there's going to be tons of reporting in there. Calls received, calls missed, time on the call. Some have call recordings if you want to go back for training. If you have a traditional phone system, that's definitely going to be limited, but there may be some reporting in there as well. So if you have users that are based on call activity, or at least you want to make sure and see how they're doing with the rest of the pack, it's a really good way to see that. We go over that with our team. No one's stressed about it. It just gives them some positive incentive to be like, oh, okay, I see this person, maybe answering more calls, taking, and placing more calls, and it puts the onus to make sure the whole team is performing well. So that's number two on how to improve employee monitoring and productivity in 2021. Number three is DNS filtering. I think this one's super important. While it may not lead to productivity, it is good to see our employees abusing their internet time. Most businesses aren't going to care if a user might be on their personal email. As your IT team, we're going to probably tell you not to do that, but most business owners are okay with users kind of doing a little bit of internet time on their own during the workday if they need to make an appointment or something. But you don't want that to be abused, right? You don't want someone that's looking at job applications while they're working for you, or you don't want someone browsing YouTube, using the internet bandwidth and wasting time on your dollar. So DNS filtering and DNS management, that's a really good one to see what websites are people visiting. Are they abusing their internet time? Are they visiting sites they really shouldn't be? Is someone looking for a job? So this is one that I recommend, honestly, for most business owners. Employees are not, for the most part, no one's going to be surprised that you're seeing if they're going to look at something they shouldn't be while working. And it's in pretty much every employee handbook. So this is one that I don't think really infringes on much and is an important one for you to have. And number four on the list, probably the most invasive, but in some cases needed, is actually employee monitoring software. So there's a ton that come to mind. One that I've seen used is called TerraMind, and what this does is it's more of a comprehensive employee productivity monitoring tool, and there's tons of these out there. It can really show you exact times that people start working, end working, what they're doing while at work. You can also have parameters, so if they're using, you can have it just start at 8 a.m. and end at 5 p.m. so it's just not monitoring all the time. So it makes maybe the employee a little more comfortable with the software, but that is something that's out there, and people are using it more as a move remote. It's just important to let your employee know, like, hey, this is something that we do on work computers during these times. So if you are using this tool, it's good to make sure your employee is alerted of this through the handbook and just knowing that it's on their computer. I think that's an important it's just an important piece to have. Like, if you're going to be using that, that's fine. It's okay to do employee monitoring productivity. Just have that disclaimer and communication with your employee. In most cases, they're going to be comfortable with it. The last one, and of course my personal favorite, is just the good old scorecard. So if you do not have a scorecard for every one of your employees, I recommend having a scorecard. A scorecard is those metrics that your employees are being judged by, or at least reporting by. So every different department and every employee may have a different scorecard, but it's important to say, hey, these are your expectations for whatever it is you're doing with your job. This is a good thing. Employees like to know the expectations put on them so they can exceed those expectations. Or if an expectation is set and no one on the team's hitting it, well, maybe the expectation may be a little too high, or maybe some adjustments need to be made. Either way, a good old-fashioned scorecard is still a fantastic way of employee productivity and employee productivity monitoring. So these are the 5 primary categories of employee productivity monitoring in 2021. There's tons and tons of ways to do this. Some of these things you may already have access to, and other things you may need to be implemented. If you have any additional questions on employee productivity monitoring, please reach out. I'd be happy to help. Thank you so much.
Reach out today. It's about time to rip the Band-Aid off.